have such sights to show you.
We're Poppin the Scary horror podcast here. I'm your host Coale, and with me as always I have my good friend and co-host Aaron. Aaron, hello, my good friend.
What's up, man?
Nothing much. Your it was better than my.
Oh, thanks.
So you
well,
know,
I kind of caught you off guard with my.
Oh, it's all good. It's all good. Yeah, we're going to be making all sorts of noises now that we're revisiting our good old Skarsgård friend Pennywise again.
Yeah, that's a funny clown right there.
Yep, absolutely. So as a quick recap on the film It from 2017, Chapter 1, I guess, as it's unofficially called. Just to remind the audience, what was your overall thoughts about that film?
Man, I enjoyed it. It was good. I mean, I remember the underground stuff when everything floating and the raincoat and the balloon. I mean, all that stuff. It was cool. I'm trying to remember what I rated it. Like a 7 maybe. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, I think I rated it slightly higher than you did, but I mean, I remember from what I remember you talking about, you seemed to enjoy it fairly well.
Yeah.
There. But yeah, I mean, and same with me, I very much was very surprised by it, because whenever I went to go watch it, I was amazed by how much I liked it, watching it in theaters, and then repeat watches. It was still fun, maybe not as exhilarating as the first time there, but still enjoyable regardless. Now, the interesting thing about it is, whenever that film came out, it was just like big, you know, everybody's talking about it, you know, it just basically was huge, I think, and I could be wrong. It was like the highest grossing R-rated horror film.
It would surprise me. Everyone was talking about it.
Yeah, everyone was talking about it, but whenever it came to Chapter 2, I never heard really anybody talk about it.
I wasn't aware it was out, so we're watching it though, so it must be.
Yes, yeah, it came out in 2019, which is so weird to think about, because again, even though I liked it a ton, I didn't go out to the theaters to watch it, not for any particular reason, just didn't get around to it. And it wasn't until like years later, whenever my wife bought me a copy for my birthday, and I'm just like, oh yeah, I'll just sit down and just pop this in and watch it.
Sounds like a marketing failure to me.
Yeah, it's so weird. Like, they just, I don't know what it was, because I know they had some marketing a little bit there, but overall nothing really too much there, which is kind of surprising. And I think Warner Brothers is still trying to push the franchise out, given that they're trying to come out with like a mini series or something called like Tales from Derry there, which is supposed to be like a prequel to the series there, but that's been in development forever, which I know the pandemic didn't help that out very much. But yeah, do you have any thoughts, anticipations, concern going into the sequel to it?
I think it'll be interesting, guys. You know, I thought those kids all did a pretty good job, and it was a compelling story. But now, as I understand it, we're probably going to be doing a little bit of a time skip. So it'll be interesting to see the same characters, but I imagine portrayed by different actors, and how that all lines up. I also understand this is going to be a really long movie, so
yes,
I'm kind of getting ready to buckle up, and you know, I hope it's a good one.
Yes.
Even long good movies can drain me. Like, I just rewatched The Godfather recently.
Oh,
and it's just like,
yeah.
It's such a good movie, but by the end of it, I just need to take a nap, man. Like,
I could not agree with you more. This is getting off the rails a bit, but what the hey? Did I tell you, like, I recently watched The Godfather in the last couple of years there?
Like, for the first time?
Yeah, for the first time,
yeah.
like for the 50th anniversary. So it was last year.
Okay.
I watched it, and I watched it in the movie theater
Oh,
there. Yeah. And
Did you like
yes,
it?
I did like it. I did like it a ton, but you are very much correct in the fact that it is a
so
very long
long.
movie, and it's like not bad, because what they fill it with is good. The one thing I will say is funny is because I watched it in like Dolby Atmos or whatever, and it was like remastered and everything. And like audio back then, it was just more like mono as opposed to stereo there. Everything is like mono, except randomly if like an explosion goes off, it becomes Michael Bay surround sound, which is very jarring, but it made it a really good theater experience. So I will detract from that 3-hour film to this almost 3-hour film, It. And so we're all going to be right back with y'all fine folks whenever we get done watching It Part 2.
Yeah.
This year I got something new and exciting and different for everybody.
Hey kids, it's
the
me.
clown.
What's Whoa, easy.
Please.
What the hell is happening? It's a clown, goddammit.
Clown's out of control.
Just chill out, everybody calm down.
Where's Sky a bee?
Everybody calm down, I'm just a clown.
Oh, whoa, man, that clown.
Why did you invite him?
And after a much long-awaited return, we have returned from watching It, Chapter 2.
Old Chappie 2.
Yeah.
In the books.
Absolutely. So after watching one 3-hour movie and jumping to another 3-hour movie, how are you feeling?
Yeah, feeling good. It wasn't bad paced or anything. So it was definitely a long movie. It didn't feel that long though, so it was good.
Well, that's good. That's definitely good. Yeah, this is only my second time watching it through because I only watched through it once, and so I was kind of afraid of how long it was going to feel for me, but fortunately for me, it went about as equally paced as it did the first time there, which is definitely good because, trust me, sitting through a long, bad movie is just like pulling nails.
That's what I was worried about, yeah, and I wasn't too worried because the first movie was good, so, but, if you're watching a long movie and a bad movie, it's like watching 2 bad movies back to back.
Yes.
And I would rather just not do that.
That is totally fair. I guess we'll just jump right into the story then. So obviously this is going to be a little bit of spoilers talking about the story of this film. If you haven't watched the first one and don't want to get spoiled, now's probably your time to leave out.
Get
but
the fuck out of here.
Well, I mean, yeah, you could take the context whether you want it to be really New Yorker harsh or just average neutral ground.
For your own good. If you don't want to be spoiled, leave now. But if you don't care about being spoiled, or you already watched the first film, then stick around.
Absolutely. So pretty much the story of It Chapter 2 takes place 27 years after the events of the first film, after they had all made a promise that if it ever returned, that they would all come back to Derry no matter where they were in their walk of life. And we basically catch up with all of the losers, and they all reunite as they try to figure out how to stop it from causing more terror and havoc across Derry. And I think that's about the blunt way I can describe the film.
That's the concise, zoomed out view. Yeah, it's back. They got to stop it 'cause they made a promise.
And I mean, like I said, it is based off of the Stephen King novel It, which even after years of being like, yep, I'm going to read the book, haven't finished it. It's just
it's a big book.
Yes, it is a very big book, and nothing's keeping me from it. It's just I don't have an excuse, period. But that's beside the point there. Story wise, I mean, I feel like it's very interesting. Again, how they went about this film, because I think we might have talked about it in the first film, but in the book, they are constantly jumping back and forth between the 27-year shift between the adults and the kids there. And, for the most part, the first film was just pretty straightforward, didn't jump back and forth there, and I felt like that was perfectly fine. With this film, there is a little bit of hopping back and forth as well,
Yes.
but I feel like it's just adding more context into the characters and the story and their motivations.
And a little reminder for the audience, most of whom probably didn't just watch the first movie. So it was good for me because I forgot about some of that stuff, and they kind of added in even some scenes that were just straight from the first movie. And then a lot of scenes that were using the original characters again, and reminding us of some of their conflicts and stuff. Because a lot of their fears or whatever in this movie are the exact same as the first movie. So it was good to have like that back and forth jump IMO, but also, just a little reminder of here's what happened in part 1.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I think one of the things that I would say is, I don't know, a very big criticism of it is the fact that even though we did enjoy our time watching it, it is a very long film.
Yes.
But on the same hand, I don't think there was a lot of moments I think you could have subtracted there without kind of building up the emotional tension.
Right, not without their kind of game plan for the script. I mean, they're like the first half of the movie is them all like searching for these artifacts from their past, and they go through every character, and you remember that's a big group of kids, so like all of them have to have their own little character development scene, and I feel like that's where the bulk of that 2.5 hours went. They got to been at least half an hour of the movie that they could have just been like, all right, everybody got one, come back. But like, but they obviously had a reason for doing that. They needed to show people what the fears were of each character and how that relates to their current life and their remembering, because there's a whole like memory loss plot point, and it's yeah, I agree. I don't think they could have cut a lot more without sacrificing what they were trying to do with this movie, but they could have made some things a little more condensed that you might have lost, a little bit of the tension because of it.
Yeah, because I'm definitely not gonna lie, making a long film in some ways can be deemed as easy, but making it entertaining is very much more difficult, because there is very few like 3-hour like almost 3-hour films that I'm just like, yep, that was like great all the way through, complete ride there. But yeah, like I'm with you. There's definitely like some stuff that could have been cut, but then it just kind of defeats the whole purpose there,
right?
And kind of the drive of the characters, which I definitely like that a lot of them are just kind of like, this is garbage, this is awful, I hate this, I don't even know why we're doing this, I'm getting out of here, because like they're just being realistic human beings. They're like, look, this is just garbage. What are we going to do about this? Still having that same fear. So I think having like them taking the time whenever they do find the artifacts there is like, I guess if you're looking at it, unnecessary, but it's necessary emotional wise there. Which they do have like a lot of fairly good emotional moments. However, I do feel like there's a lot of emotional moments that happen later on in the film that I feel like it's trying to tell you, hey, you really should be feeling this right now. And me as an audience member, there's times where I'm just like, okay,
But you're not making me feel that. I know what you're trying to make me feel, but you're not accomplishing it.
That's exactly it there. But I mean, overall, zero issues with story pacing wise there. It just mostly has to do with what they chose to focus on and what they chose to cut down, because there's definitely some conflicts that get resolved way quicker than expected.
True.
There, and so
there is a number of conflicts, not just with each individual character, but like with them as a group, with the town, and it's like some of them probably could have been left out if you really wanted to make a shorter film, but
yeah, it makes me curious. I don't know about your opinion. Do you think this film should have been divided up into 2 films?
No, I think that's the pussy way out.
Oh,
no. I think
dang.
you can always condense further, but maybe that's my background.
Oh man, that I was not I was not expecting the desk slam there.
I feel like he could have done it, but I feel like that whenever you are tempted to do that as a movie director or as a studio or whatever, you're either motivated by, hey, we can make people buy tickets twice, or you're motivated by, hey, I really want to add in all this extra shit from the book, so let's make 2 movies instead, and you just end up with like a Hunger Games Part 1, 2, 3, Harry Potter Deathly Hallows Part 2 and 3, and none of that shit's necessary. Just cut out the there's the books are great because they can add in all that little detail. Movies, you're confined to roughly an hour and a half. If you want to make a 3-hour movie, that's great, but you gotta mush it down. I would have been upset if I watched this whole part 2 and then the conflict ended with like, and then they wanted to leave the town because that's where we were halfway through the movie. Yeah, they're like, okay, like kill the clown, come on.
All right.
I don't want to watch another movie for it. That's just me. That's me.
No.
I'm also, so the audience knows, my background as a writer though is I focused on poetry in fucking college, and then I did news writing. So both of those things are like, cut the fat.
Yeah.
So maybe that's just my background. That's like, no, that's my instinct now. But I'm always in favor of having a better, shorter product rather than a longer product with cool little interesting details. Like, that's what books are for. Go read a book.
All right.
Or miniseries. They already did one of those, you know what I mean? Do a whole TV season. That's dope. That's what TV's good at now. But you can pack it all into a season. But don't do that shit with movies. A movie should be a contained experience.
Wow, man, that was very charged.
Sorry, that's...
No, it's fine. I like it.
There it is.
No, this is exactly what I wanted. I was just not prepared for it, I suppose, there. Yeah, and I suppose we could talk more about the story beats as we start to kind of really focus in, because there's definitely a lot of moments to focus on and kind of what worked, what didn't work there. So one of the things I did want to mention before talking about the cast members is I'm pretty sure about this, but Andy Muschietti, who directed the film, I believe he approached all of the child actors at the time to ask them who they would want to portray as their older selves there. Supposedly, that is the way it went down. I know that especially whenever it came to Finn Wolfhard, he wanted Bill Hader very much so.
That was the one where I saw the old adult people, and as soon as I saw Bill Hader, I was like, that is perfect for Richie.
Yes, yeah, and we'll definitely talk about him. Well, hey, we're already talking about him. Why not there? Well, I guess in general, how good do you think the casting was for the kids being adults?
I thought it was maybe hit or miss, mostly hit, but there was a couple miss. I think. I think all the actors did good as their characters.
Yeah.
I think the one that struck me as a little weird was Jay Ryan as Ben. Not because he was handsome and then it was the fat kid and grew up to be. It's like that's not anything what he looked like. There's a handsome version of that little chubby kid out there. And that's not him. I didn't look at I couldn't put the two pictures side by side and be like, it's a completely different hair color and like ethnic background. I don't know. I was like, okay.
Yeah, I feel like really the only thing that sold me about it being older Ben is the eyes. The eyes were the only thing that I could see, because in the book, this is exactly what happens. Ben turns into he's basically the chubby fat kid that turns into a handsome, very muscular, successful dude, or architect, I should say. So I get why they did what they did, but it is definitely probably the most jarring there. But I don't even feel like it's Jay's fault. I feel like Jay does an excellent job trying to
great.
challenge that. It's just the looks.
Exactly.
Like, it was too perfect.
Right. I was like, wow, you really got chiseled into this. Like, you can make a handsome brown-haired man, like that light brown hair that he has, and like, a little bit of paleness going on. This is like a tan fucking stallion on the cover of a romance novel. His fucking abs out in that one scene where he's getting fucking carved in. He's like, oh shit, my perfect abs. Oh, he's like handsome Squidward, but like at least handsome Squidward looks like Squidward. Anyway,
Oh,
that was one of
yeah.
those, like, I didn't think any of the adult actors did a bad job. I think they were all pretty good. The other one I'd say is Bill's actor.
Oh yeah, James McAvoy.
Yeah, I like James McAvoy. I just didn't. I don't know. It didn't seem super like Bill to me. They both had the stutter down, I guess, but I don't know. That might have been big. But again, I think he did a great job as Bill. It's just not necessarily like that's not what I imagine you'd look like when you grow up. But again, everyone else to me was like cool, pretty good, and then the one that was like spot on was like Bill Hader. I was like, yep.
Yeah, and I guess we'll just we could talk more. I feel like for the most part we talked a lot about Ben and our feelings there. That he did a good job. Just might have been slightly miscast, just barely, just based on appearance.
Yeah, just on that alone.
Yeah, but other than that, I mean, he still acted very well with that. James McAvoy, I am very much a big fan of. He's probably one of my favorite actors. He's very gifted and everything, and I could see exactly what you're talking about him not being an exact perfect translation of Bill. But he did manage to like do the stuttering convincingly, exactly like the younger Bill did, Jaden Martell. I thought, again, the main, like the losers, they all act exactly like their younger selves, which is good. You want to believe it's them. I do think James, and this might be just like due to the character, because Bill is the only like characteristics he has is like he struggled to talk there, but he's kind of the leader and everything there. That James kind of picks up that exact same thing, although arguably it's Mike who's actually kind of the initiator. It's just James is kind of being a leader for everyone else there. Right. But I mean, no diss towards James McAvoy. I love him to death and everything, but I see exactly what you're talking about. Just not being perfect, but I feel like for the film, he does exactly just fine. Like, I believe every scene that he's performing.
And it wouldn't have been as big of a deal if it wasn't like the child part of them was so tied in close together. Like they're in flashback scenes together and stuff, and it's like I'm just not buying this transition.
Yeah, I believe that. But yeah, let's talk about our Oklahoma boy Bill Hader here.
Go Bill.
Yeah, I feel like just like you mentioned, he just did perfect. He did perfect, just very spot on there. Like even just with the looks and everything, the attitude, the overall air that Bill brought to Richie was just spot on. I would argue it's probably the perfect translation.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. Bill Hader always plays these sort of like goofball characters, even whenever he's in more serious roles. I guess he still has that little quirky sense of humor that I feel like lines up pretty closely to how they wrote Richie. So I was like, that's great.
Yeah, I honestly thought, because like Finn in the first film as Richie, he had so many quips back and forth, and they just continued that trend with Bill as well, and they just both deliver it with like perfect delivery there, and they also really kind of dive in more into his like emotional side as well, which is like very surprising to see. I mean, granted, they all it's kind of sort of like it is getting into their own psyches there and feeding on their insecurities there, but especially for Richie, I was not expecting this deep of a development with him.
Yeah.
So I thought, he did a good job as well there. I mean, I'm just going to say it. He's probably like my favorite actor to watch in a film, but again, that's probably purely biased because I really like Bill Hader as well.
I'm in the same boat, so I can't be a foil to that. I loved every scene he was in, and when he would say some shit. I mean, it's also because he's the comic relief character in a movie like that, so you tend to, whenever they're good in horror movies, you tend to focus on them. And whenever they're bad, you tend to focus on them too, but for the wrong reasons. But it's always great to be like, yes, a little levity to the situation.
Yeah, and going over to the other cast of characters, we have Beverly Marsh, the older version, being played by Jessica Chastain, and I felt like she did a very good job.
I agree,
I feel like whenever it came to it, I totally bought her as the older version. Then again, I also like Sophia Lillis there. She was even fun in the D&D movie, but that's beside the point. But I felt like Jessica did a very good job bringing that same level of trauma that Sophia displayed, because Beverly definitely has a very, very, very traumatic backstory there.
Yeah.
And you could tell she still carries that with her there.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the way that they portray her, because she's not like completely helpless or weak there.
Yeah.
But at the same point, she is just constantly like in a broken state there, which is very hard to do there, but I felt like she did a very excellent job.
I feel like she was the most believable representation of trauma too, and because all of them were traumatized by like it or whatever in the first movie, but she's the one that had like a lot of home trauma too in that first movie, and you can see how that kind of carries over into her life 27 years later. I feel like it's not spoilers, it's right in the beginning of the movie, but
yes.
yeah, she like whenever they're just showing where they all are now, and Mike's calling them all up like, you gotta come back. I mean, she is in an abusive relationship with a guy, and it's like, oh, this is a very Freudian movie. I see. Even what's his name? The kid with that was like Eddie.
Yeah.
He's in a relationship with someone that looks a lot like his mom, a large woman, and an overbearing kind of helicopter wife. And so he's like, a lot of this is like, wow, this is some Freudian psychology. They all ended up with archetypes like their parents.
Yeah, and you know that's king for you.
Yeah,
That's definitely king. And I don't feel like there's anything else to mention with Jessica's performance with Beverly, right? Just pretty...
No, I don't think so. It was pretty cut and dry. She's the redhead woman of the group.
Yes.
That was kind of her character, plus traumatic backstory in the first movie, and this one it's like a trauma again, because everybody has to relive their fears. But other than that, I don't think she played as like centralizing as a role in this movie, but she was still, you know, a dominant and important figure, and I think she did a great job.
Yes, I would definitely agree. Mentioning Eddie, the actor who played him, James Ranson, I honestly, like, if it came just solely down to portfolio looks and everything there, I feel like he's just like almost spot on perfect. Like he just looks like an older version of Eddie and manages to capture that same hypochondriac vibe that Eddie had as a kid. And I feel like he is also very, like, towards the upper echelon of perfectly cast.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There. He did a good job there. And like you mentioned before, I do think it's very great of the story to, like, show these kind of, like, you know, oh, ironic, isn't it? That they're in these situations as adults as they were whenever they were kids. Because that's like the nifty thing at the beginning is like getting like a piece of their life before they come to Derry, as opposed to them just like showing up to Derry. I mean, one of the things that we didn't talk about that I liked a ton with older Richie, is that he's a stand-up comedian. He's like going out to do a special there, which in the book he's a radio host there. So I honestly thought that was actually a smart change. I like that change a lot.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I thought it matched his character good. One thing I will say is I was kind of like, I don't know, taken aback by is how wildly financially successful every character is. I think the poorest one is Mike.
Yes, absolutely.
Even then, he lives in the library in like a fucking library girl's nerdy wet dream where there's spiral staircases in the attic and shit. And that's like the poorest one of all of them. They all live in like these gorgeous ass houses, and they're like planning trips to Buenos Aires or some shit. I'm like, wow, I wish I almost died from a clown so I could be wildly successful. That's the only tie I see.
And speaking of Mike, we might as well talk about him as well. Played by Isaiah Mustafa. I feel like his performance is hindered by the fact that he has to be exposition
Yeah.
Yes, that's a bad thing. It is no dig at the actor whatsoever. It's just with the way they wrote the character and the role he plays.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really know too much. He's like come on guys, we got to stick together.
Right.
Constantly having to wrangle them back in.
He's the guy with all the knowledge on what we're going to do now. And, I've been sitting here reading in this library for 27 years, which is a shit position to be in compared to every other character. Because every other character gets a lot of show, don't tell. I don't think anyone else is like, oh my god, this thing just happened off screen. But Mike has to be like, let me explain everything to you. This is all my dialogue.
Yeah, which sucks.
Yeah.
It definitely sucks. I don't feel like that's Isaiah's fault in the slightest.
No,
It's just the way the story is written and how it is. Because, aside from that, like, the only other thing you got from him in this film is the fact that he's just like, yeah, I wanted to move to Florida.
yeah.
That's it.
True. Even his like little alone trauma experience or whatever was like seemed kind of patched together, but
yeah,
I don't know.
So that's kind of disappointing there. But I know whenever it's a 2-hour, 50-minute movie, sacrifices are going to be made. It's just kind of picking and choosing your battles.
Guess they couldn't find any like cool moments for Mike in that 3 hours.
And finally, talking about the final member of the Losers Club, we have older Stanley, played by Andy Bean, who I thought was also very well casted as an older version of Stanley there. Granted, not like Eddie, Beverly, Richie there.
Level.
I would say lower wise there. I feel like the thing that sells it for me the most is his nervousness.
Yeah.
As soon as he gets like nervous, I see exactly Wyatt Olaf, who played younger Stanley, just perfectly, like that sort of anxiety attack there. I felt like he did that perfectly. Unfortunately, he doesn't get too much development. People that read the book or have seen the movie know why.
Right.
But that's something we'll talk about in spoilers. But basically I felt like there wasn't too much with him, so it's hard to kind of make pure judgment. I feel like for what it is, it's fine.
I agree. I think even in the casting tier, I feel like he's a mid tier on the casting level. I'm like, meh, he's a gang of meh. He did a good job. I see what you mean by the nervousness. He's not like an ideal, like, oh, I saw him and I instantly knew he was Stanley, kind of thing. But
not as recognizable as like Eddie or something like that.
Right. But I thought he did a good job.
Yeah. But that's the entirety of the Losers Club. Really, I guess the only two people to kind of mention that have returned. One of them, I guess, before I get to the obvious titular character there, let's talk about Henry Bowers.
Old Bowers.
So how did you feel? I know we've talked about the Losers Club, how they translated. How do you think Henry Bowers translated to as an adult? Because I felt like Nicholas Hamilton was very, very, very good as Henry Bowers. I remember raving on about him. Just like, man, he is just mean as a snake there. Just absolutely brutal there. How was it seeing Teach Grant play older Henry Bowers?
I thought that one made sense to see a sort of physical transformation as someone that's been like rotting away for all these years, because he's kind of been like locked up, Still got the mullet though. I thought it was cool. He didn't really look a whole lot like him, like physique wise. He wasn't that tall, skinny, mulleted snake kind of. But I was like, I bought it. I thought his performance was good as someone that's been like messed up in the head for these past 27 years. I just didn't quite think his entire storyline needed to be in the movie.
Yes.
Is my thing.
Yes.
I liked Bowers in the first movie a lot. I thought it drove a lot of the plot. This one seemed kind of like, well, if you were looking for something to cut in these 3 hours, you probably could have cut all of that. But
yeah, and this is like something that does happen in the book, him returning there. But again, there's a difference between a book and a movie there. But it's like one of those things that, like, yes, it's cool seeing Henry Bowers be back and be like an antagonist. It's just what they end up doing with his character that ends up feeling a little bit underbaked.
Right. It doesn't end up like really driving a
Yeah.
whole lot. Like, it does push them, but it does push the plot forward in some ways, but ultimately not in any ways that couldn't have been pushed forward naturally without him being involved at all.
Yeah, because that's surprisingly one of the things I've noticed about this film, and we'll talk about it whenever we talk about Pennywise. It's not as antagonistic as the first one is whenever it comes to it. It's mostly the group trying to figure things out there, and just sometimes some spooky stuff happens. Which, don't get me wrong, it happens in the first one, but in the first one I felt like they were constantly being hunted down.
Oh, yeah.
There. This one, I didn't get that same sense of vibe. I felt like when it came to Henry Bowers, it was like, I know it wasn't an afterthought, but it almost felt like an afterthought. Like, oh yeah, let's throw Henry Bowers in. Trust me, I know he's in the book, so I know they were planning it. It's just with the way it played out, there wasn't like that big resolution to Henry Bowers' side of the story there.
Oh, I agree. And I also didn't feel like it was necessary to do any sort of resolute. I didn't think he needed to be involved in this film at all. I feel like he did a good job in the first movie, and then this movie they could have just left it. But
yeah, it was unfortunate there, but I also feel like, especially with book nerds, if they had just cut it out there, then that also just would have caused stuff. But again, it's like, it's so hard to pick and choose the battles there.
Right.
So, I mean, as is, it's fine, but I see exactly what you're talking about, that if they wanted to make a more concise cut, narrative-wise, Mr. King, listen in. Maybe you can earn some success with Aaron's notes.
Yes, please take my notes, Stephen King. I'm the more successful writer here.
Yeah, finally, I guess we should talk about our good old boy returning back, Bill Skarsgård playing Pennywise. And so what do you think about Pennywise's return after 27 years?
Oh man, it's like riding a bike, you know. It's same old Pennywise. He's got some new tricks, but you never quite forget, you know. He's I love Bill Skarsgård as a Pennywise. He's just got that fucking creepy ass looking bug-eyed face, and that's what you need for someone like Pennywise. You get to see Pennywise in a couple moments here where he like even looks kind of cute and innocent, like, oh, a clown and a child would fall for this trap, and then, you know, but he's always got that creepy undertone. And then, you know, whenever he lurches his jaws forward or whatever, like he did a bunch in the first movie, you're like, yup, that's spooky. I get it. I know. I like his design. It's always going to be a little goofy for me because he's a clown, but that's also the point to some extent. So, I don't know. This movie dived a lot into like the lore and the ancient history of Pennywise, and like, okay, like I get that they explain that he takes on different forms or whatever, but I'm like, really? Like a million years ago, this creature lurched from the earth and it was just like a clown, like dee 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 dee. But all that to say, I do like Pennywise as a villain. I think he adds that fun mix of like, this is a funny looking guy, and then it's also terrifying, which can be difficult to pull off. But I thought in most scenes it was pulled off.
It's so weird whenever it comes to it, because I'm of the same opinion. I love Pennywise there. There's something, and I don't think it's necessarily Bill's performance. There's something about this Pennywise, though, that feels maybe watered down compared to the first one. I can't put my finger on it.
This whole movie felt like a Marvel movie, and he was the villain. Does that make any sense?
Yes, it does, surprisingly. Because trust me, it's funny because I felt like my overall gut reaction is I felt like I didn't see Pennywise a lot, but then it's like if you break it down, he's in a lot of the movie there. It's just not as like memorable, I suppose, as the first one there, because in the first one there's a lot of moments, like whether it's himself or him pretending to be a monster. So that's the thing, like, I'm honestly confused about myself, is like, why am I feeling like he wasn't in the film a lot, even though clearly he was present in a lot of
right, because he wasn't like popping out of drains and shit all the time, you know what I mean? And even some of the spooky moments that involved them like going and get the artifacts and confronting their past or whatever, like when there was spooky stuff there, it wasn't Pennywise. It was related to Pennywise, but it wasn't, you know, him popping out and trying to eat you. So I see what you mean. He was there all the time, but not necessarily even in the pivotal moments in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, but it's like so weird too because I don't even feel like it's like Bill underselling it because there's
No.
definitely a lot of good moments, like especially whenever he confronts Richie there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot of good moments like that.
They're just not like super scary moments. I don't know.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, there's definitely like I'm sure you felt this way throughout the film. There's definitely some good moments, whether it's coming from the losers or just moments with it.
Yeah, yeah.
There, it's just I don't know, not quite as like memorable as the first one. There's something the first one did that I'm just like, oh, I remember this and
Yeah.
that.
I just remember the first one being scarier. I feel like this one,
Mm-hmm.
Pennywise is just not that scary to look at, especially even in his like final form at the end and everything. It's like it's like they're trying real hard to make a creepy, scary monster, and I'm just looking at a Marvel villain or something, you know, like
Yes.
like an action movie villain. Because a lot of the movie feels more like an action movie in this one than it does a horror movie. Because it doesn't feel like they're being hunted. It just feels like they're a race against the clock to kill Pennywise. Or
Yes,
whatever,
and that's honestly exactly it. And there are like some moments that do feel like horror, but you're right. I think it's because they're having to take like initiative and diving in to take care of this.
Right.
It feels more like an action film there. But yeah, aside from that though, I don't believe there's any other characters. There is a sweet cameo
That's true.
in the
From
middle.
Mr. King.
Yes, Mr. King does make a cameo there. Spoilers, but what did you think about the cameo?
I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
I'm always for writers doing cameos in their own movies or slapping Stan Lee into every Marvel film even after he's dead. I mean, like, do it. Do it. It's always enjoyable for the audience. I don't know. I don't think his character was like memorable or anything, but I guess that's the point. It was memorable because it was Stephen King, and he was like, "Your ending sucks."
Yeah, and that was a reflection of him whenever he wrote it, because Bill is an author in the book there, and so that was one of the complaints he received a lot is, I hate the ending. I hate the ending. And so Stephen King did it as a joke. And so for him, years and years later after the book is released, to be like, yeah, I didn't like the ending there, you know. I thought it was a good, fun cameo. Whenever I saw it the first time, I was like, oh,
That's him.
that's you.
That's the guy from Twitter, Stephen King.
Yeah, but that was fun. But aside from that, it pretty much sticks to those main characters there. Yeah, we've talked a lot about the characters, a lot
So
about the
many of
story
them. Yeah.
there. I think one of the things that I think kind of correlates to what you're talking about, because I really love this Marvel analogy you're going with, and God, it felt like it, is there's a lot of CG in this film. There is. And granted, it's not all CG, but I think it's because I become so desensitized to CG sometimes that I'm just like taken out of it there. And it's just like, you know, I imagine I mean, you're a big Star Wars dude. We always talk about Star Wars every episode. Yes. But you know that like one scene where showing the behind the scenes of the prequels and it's just the characters running around a blue screen? That's kind of like, it takes me out of it there. And I think maybe that might just be like a deeper psychological reason as to why I feel like there's nothing there sometimes. But yeah, it definitely, there's supposed to be some scary moments, and granted, some of the moments did actually kind of freak me out where I'm just like, ugh, there. But in other ones, it's just kind of like numb. You're just like so desensitized to what you're seeing
like a
there.
horror-themed action movie where it's like, all right, they got to fight this head that's a spider now, and okay, they got to get past the other spider now, and okay, there's like a big lady now they got to get past, and like, it's like, it's like, okay, horror-themed spider, you know, whatever. It's I don't know, my favorite, I think the reason why from the beginning I was like, this feels like a Marvel movie, is because it literally is like Avengers Assemble in the beginning.
Oh my god.
Like Mike is Nick Fury, and he's like, you guys got to come in for a mission.
Oh my god.
You made a promise.
Oh my god.
Then it's got all like the team infighting. It's like literally like an Avengers movie, but none of them have powers.
Oh my gosh. You know, when you're right, you're right. Oh my gosh. Yeah, yeah. I can't argue with that. That's probably another reason why it feels like a Marvel film. One thing, completely sidetracking from this, and I mean, I wouldn't say it did anything special than the first film, but I just love the music in this film. Like, it's just good friggin' music from Benjamin Wallfish. Like, I love the piano and the violins. It's good music, and I mean, you could probably play both of them back to back, and I couldn't tell you which one is from which one. But I mean, it's just like, it's just like Star Wars. There, they use a lot of the same tunes throughout there to heighten certain stuff like that.
I will say Star Wars is a lot more memorable. I can't think of the theme right now while you're talking about it. Though I remember music liking it, but I can't think of what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Versus after I see a Star Wars movie, I'm like.
I was completely wrong, but I'm happy I mentioned it because otherwise I wouldn't have gotten just that right now. But yeah, it's like there's a lot of violins usage in there, and the light piano where it's like do 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 do.
That's from Ocarina of Time right there.
I thought it was going to be like.
Is that the song of time that you just did?
I remember. I was thinking of what if God was one of us? Ding 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 ding.
What if God was Optimus? You never sang that as a Transformers parody?
I didn't know there was a parody.
Okay, well. Yeah, I haven't been on the internet long enough, apparently.
No, just a different corner.
Too many corners.
Like an octagon.
Yeah, it would be, 8 corners? I'm not good at geometry, but I assume 8 sides, 8 corners.
Holy cow. Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about?
Fuck, no. I don't know, man. We didn't mention the character of Kid with Skateboard. That is also in Chinese restaurant.
Yeah. They just say the kid.
Hey kid. So much of this movie is trying to spend running into that kid accidentally.
Yeah, no, that was a lot of times there. Overall,
it's a small town though.
Yes, very small town.
Old Derry. Smell the Derry air, Anyway, I'm gonna go to spoilers.
Yeah. Well, let's give our rating first.
Oh, right.
Aaron, please allow us the opportunity to hear your rating of It Chapter 2.
Boy, howdy, this is the part where I condense down my criticisms and then give you my rating. Here's the criticisms. It's a long movie. They could have cut the bully part. It was interesting, but not interesting enough for a 2.5-hour movie. There was one slight bit where it was really slow-paced in between, right after everybody did their little archetype shit and then our artifact shit, and then they had to go to the next part. I felt like it started to drag a little bit. Overall, well-paced, though. Fuck. Yeah, again, mostly it's this it felt like an action movie. They even fight like the big final boss at the end. They gotta figure out the secret technique to beat him. Whatever. It's not bad. It's just like a little generic. I've seen too many Marvel movies, and the fact that this feels like one isn't necessarily like to its benefit. But overall, it was fun. It's just little things like that. The CGI, it made it feel a little more sterile than I wanted. It was overall a good story. I felt like they wrapped up the conflict fine. I felt like all the characters were great, even if the portrayals of them wasn't like to my exact physical appearance liking. I thought every actor did great. It was great to see the kids again alongside. So I don't know, a lot of good qualities, a few things that would dampen the experience for me. I give it like if I could give it like a 6.5, I would, but we don't do 0.5s around here, so.
I do it all the time.
Okay, well, I'll do it now.
Okay.
6.5.
I grant you permission to use the half.
This time I will do it. 6.5.
All right.
But if gun to my head, if I had to round it up or down, I'd round it down. That's a 6.
That's fair. That's totally fair. I just giving you the privilege of 0.5. There's the minus and the plus.
I'll let you do the math at home, but that's the exact figure. 6.538924. All
right.
Actually, except for that would round up. So actually, it's 6.499999382. 1.
Hell yeah,
That's the final
dude.
math. That's circled at the bottom of the page.
Good to know. Good to know. This film, it's definitely interesting because I was prepared to go into this film being more critical of it, because whenever I went in initially, I'm like, all right, I finally get to watch chapter 2. And I was like, oh, okay, wow, all right. But going in second time there, kind of preparing myself, knowing what I was going to get into, I would say it was better, but marginally, just like, slightly better there. I can't, man, my gosh. I agree wholeheartedly with the fact that it does feel super long. And while I think there's stuff that they could have cut out, say like the Henry Bowers arc there, I understand why they kept it in, given that it also was very much a prominent part of the book there, as well as I'm sure like both Stephen King and Andy wanted to revisit Henry 27 years later as well. But that's just kind of like, okay, like I understand why you went, I understand why you went on for so long, but at the same point, that is going to be harmful, unfortunately, there, because pacing wise, there's just a lot of moments where you're just kind of sitting there, and it's not the fact that they're not doing anything, it's just it feels like nothing's going on,
right?
Like they're just kind of sitting there and you're just like, yes, exactly. I feel like that's part of it. There's definitely some moments where I'm like, why did you write it this way, or what was the point of this? I felt like there could have been a lot more effective stuff, because I think like whenever it comes to fear in this film, it's more abstract and bizarre as opposed to the first one. But again, I think that just makes it more complicated, because as kids, it's common to be afraid of like one singular thing, but as an adult, that's whenever life gets a lot more complex there. And again, I think it just comes down to pacing, and the resolution towards the end feels a bit empty by the time you get there. Yeah. Like, on paper, with the way it's written down, it's like, oh yeah, this should be fire, just like, gold, like SpongeBob writing the on that piece of paper. I feel like it should be satisfactory, but by the time it gets done, there's only like a couple of stuff I'm like, well, that was a nice touch, or like that. So by the time you get to the end, you're like, okay. And because of that, I also will probably rate it a 6, actually. Not a 6.5. In all honesty, like, I thought about it being 5.5, but there's so many good performances, good moments, that I can't completely just toss it out. Because, I mean, it is enjoyable there, so I don't know, maybe a 5.56. You do the math there, but I'm feeling a 6. Yeah. There. So that is my rating for It Chapter 2. You have heard both of our judgments on the film there. So with that in mind, if you guys want to go see the film, go on ahead and do so. We watched it on Max, or should I call it HBO Max, which is a much better name.
It is a better name. Formerly known as HBO Max.
Yes, the streaming service formerly known as HBO Max. Yeah, I like that one way better than Max. Anyhow, definitely check it out. But if you want to hear what we thought about, be prepared for some spoilers. So, Aaron, take it away, buddy, with the first spoiler.
Man, I don't know. Dude, Pennywise's spider design, shit was stupid.
Yeah.
No, it was cool. It was cool, but it was cool for like a minute. I kind of wish he had just kept on, like, I don't know. The way it makes sense to me, how they did the ending, like, wouldn't have worked. Does that make any sense? Where they're like, oh, we can just imagine him being different fears and then he'll get small. I was like, man, I thought it would be cool if they tried that one first and it didn't work. And they were like, oh, well, imagine him being something different, and then he's just shifting instead of being like a clown into being like a bat, and then a vampire, and then whatever, all these things that they're scared of, and just continually walking towards them and eating them or something. Because I didn't really get, it was like, oh, if we just make believe that he's something else, then he'll get small and he can't attack us. I don't know. I just didn't. It was a weird ending for me.
It was very weird, and this is a criticism I believe that's just been, it's yeah, from what I'm able to understand, this is an issue that stems with the book there, because in the book, from what I know about it, it's exactly kind of like that. Like he's like this weird crab spider creature there, and the book goes you were talking about the lore stuff being insane, the book even more insane.
I'm sure. Yeah.
But that being said, I think it's one of those things where they're like, okay, how do we make this interesting? And like, if you showed like a still of like, hey, here's Pennywise as this spider creature there, it'd be like, oh, cool. But I think because we see it so often, I just kind of become desensitized to it.
Yeah, that looked like a World of Warcraft like raid boss.
Yes,
Like,
exactly.
I was like, we're the raid boss now.
Yeah. And I think whenever it comes to them defeating Pennywise, I felt like it should have been a more powerful moment, but it didn't feel that powerful.
Yeah, because it's Pennywise has been this character that crossed 2 movies, a very long one too, that has been this like invincible, undefeatable character that, you know, they briefly paused for 27 years or whatever. But like he just like even whenever they're like, it's not real, and they've done like they make believe that it's fine again, and then they open their eyes and Pennywise is still there and still dangerous. They still get the injuries from these moments that he's attacking them. It seems like they didn't find the solution, and then they just like rehash that same solution with like a fun twist on it, where they're like, actually, it was our imaginations that can defeat him, but only if we imagine him small. Like I didn't really. I don't know. I just didn't really like. It's like that was it. That was the answer. It seemed like it was this big puzzle, and they were coming to the answer with this Native American ritual or something, and then that just didn't work. And then it turned out the whole time I just had to believe. But I get the believe thing whenever Eddie like threw the spear and he's like, "This spear kills monsters. I believe."
Yeah.
And he threw it, and then it like actually hurt him. I was like. I bought that a lot more than I bought like the final solution. But
I did too. I did as well there, because, you know, comparing it to the first film, I felt like the fight between Pennywise and the kids was a lot more. For how mundane it is, it's like a bunch of kids with a bunch of trash items beating up on a clown. I thought that was more epic and like action-packed than them running away from a huge giant spider there.
Right, as adults, none of which thought to bring weapons to kill something.
No, nothing whatsoever. You ever think about getting a gun?
That's what I legit was waiting for the moment that Mike just like pulled out a gun, and because he's the one that's been like researching this whole time, and he'd be like, "All right, Plan B ritual didn't work." Like, I believe these bullets will kill him. Like, come on, they're adults now. You can get it. I get why kids are beating them up with trash, because you can't just walk into a gun store when you're 13 and go, "Hey, give me that AK." But like, we're in America. There's no guns in Derry. You kidding me?
Yeah, there's totally guns in Derry. There has to be.
Guns in Derry.
But yeah, like that's just how I felt. Like whenever they were like running away from everything, I didn't feel like that same sort of like suspense there. It's just kind of like, again, CG. Wacky shenanigans there, and whenever it came to them just finally deciding how do we make them small, because, you know, they're like, oh, we'll go through this cave and it'll have to shapeshift into being small, that they then decide like, you know, you're just a clown, and they're just basically bullying him into shrinking into like nothing, which I get it's supposed to be like, that's just kind of like fear, like, you know, just saying like, I'm not afraid anymore. But I felt like they already did that in the first film.
They did that in the first film, and then they like all conquered their fears again, and it was like the same fear for all of them again. It just seemed like a weird rehashing of the first movie.
It was just weird, and like by the time you see like Pennywise defeated at the end, there's no sense of satisfaction. There's not like that, you know, like beating up on the slasher, the bad guy, that sort of satisfaction. It just kind of feels just like it deflates like a balloon, which maybe they were going for there, but it's not like a good deflating there whatsoever. And so that's kind of like the bad thing is like, I feel like Bill Skarsgård is super duper great at being antagonistic and creepy and scary.
Mhm.
I was not scared of him at all whenever it came to him like antagonizing the adults. And he has, in all honesty, Pennywise is pretty terrifying with some of the stuff he does with the kids early in the film. Like he is just brutal, because really in the first film I think you only see him kill Georgie there as a kid. I mean, I know there's teenagers, but that's beside the point. But in this one, he kills 2 kids there. And it definitely, that was just like, holy smokes.
Those are 2 of the stronger, scarier scenes, too. Like, the one where Bill's trying to save that kid is not, like, necessarily scary, but, like, you get the trauma and how he, like, couldn't save Georgie, and now he's trying to save this random skateboard kid. But, like, the one with just the girl underneath the bleachers or whatever, that one was spooky. And I feel like they put that in just to remind you, like, this is a scary guy. This is who you're up against or whatever.
Yeah. But I have a funny story about this. I know we're detracting from talking about the ending, but whenever I watched it through the first time, I watched it with my wife. My wife got so mad at, like, whenever he clamps down on her head. He's like, why would they do that? You know? And I'm like, that's terrible. And I'm like, because it's supposed to be bad and awful.
Because he's a bad, awful guy. He's
oh my gosh.
Pennywise the clown. Yeah, it is fucked up to see, but...
Yeah, but at the same point, sells it at home that Pennywise is not like a goofy haha clown. He is a murderous man-eating beast, basically.
Right.
Which is why, like, it's so bizarre that whenever it comes to those moments, they were a lot more terrifying than seeing him in his big final form there, just going around, just, you know, like a big goofy spider there.
Because I feel like he's just more mysterious in those moments where he's, like, hunting, and then when you go to his lair and it turns out he's, like, a big spider that you have to fight, and... yeah, again, it just feels like an action movie with, like, a sort of unoriginal boss monster.
Yeah. Granted, I have seen from the miniseries how Pennywise looked as a spider, and I will say, I do like his design, that he still keeps somewhat of the clown physique there as a spider. I think definitely if they had just turned him into a regular, normal, huge-looking spider, it would have been, like, even more just... I don't feel like I'm even watching it anymore.
Right.
But because I will say the one thing I love that they did is the fact that Pennywise does do more of his tricks during that finale and causes them to scatter, and they're going off and they're kind of like trapped, you know, isolated, because again, that's kind of like what fear does. It just isolates you and gets you afraid and everything.
Right.
And it leads to some good moments there, some intentionally funny, some unintentionally funny, I would say, because I don't know how you felt, but I was a big fan that they brought back the 3 doors again.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, with Eddie and Richie trying to
Yes.
figure out which one, and they get it wrong again, because I'm sure there's not a right answer.
Yeah, for sure. And they go for the very scary door, because the first time they did not so scary at all. And he's just like, dude, he is fucking with us. We're going for this one. And he's like, he wasn't fucking with us.
And then they're like, next time we'll just do regular scary.
Yeah.
It's like, next time.
But that's good. I do think that was fun. Seeing Bill go back to the flooded basement like he did in the first one, I thought was good, because it's also feeding on his fear that he's the reason why Georgie died.
Right.
I thought that was a very well done scene and everything to include. So I think, like, I'm glad that Pennywise at least did more of those moments to kind of screw with them, as opposed to just, oh, smashy there to kind of break it up. Because if it just would have been a pure spider fight, I think that just would have been so boring and so much of a drag.
Hard agree.
I will say the scene between Ben and Beverly there, kind of like him being like trapped in the dirt and her in the bathroom there, I felt like, again, on paper it was done pretty well there, but it definitely was more of the weaker moment.
I do feel like it was a little bit of a cheesy moment when portrayed in film where he's reading out the poem and she's
They read
like,
that poem so much throughout the film.
And I feel like it's one of those things that, like, yeah, probably translated better in a book format where, you know, and then the poem and the saves, and probably still would have been a little cheesy, but this was, yeah, I don't know. I don't even know how to feel about that, because I kind of like it to some extent as a literary point, but it also felt like a little cheesy.
Yes. I felt like they only did that just to kind of secure the relationship between Ben and Beverly, that they end up as a couple.
And that love saves you from the darkness or whatever. I was like,
Yes.
okay, all right, whatever, I'll take it.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out any other bullet points about the final fight or anything like that before diving into other moments in the film.
What was Mike's thing? Did Mike get a thing?
No, I don't believe. No, he didn't.
Because I remember Mike's original like bad memory thing was like his parents burning to death.
Yes,
or whatever.
that's the only thing he got. I don't think Mike had any sort of trauma there, so they just forgot about Mike.
Yeah, did they? Yeah, because I was like, I thought Mike was gonna get a Pennywise trauma thing at the final fight, but if they did it, it wasn't memorable enough for me to remember.
Yeah, because the only moment he has of being scared personally is whenever he's at the library and the book falls, and then he reads like the news article, which has been changed to like two crackheads, you know, die in fire there, and it shows him as a little kid outside. That was the only traumatic thing, so they really did Mike dirty.
Yeah, and then even then, whenever he's like being attacked by some Pennywise monster or whatever, it's just Bauer that comes up and tries to stab him or whatever. So it doesn't even get like a unique trauma thing, which is like kind of everybody's thing. But Richie also kind of gets robbed of that a little bit, because in the original movie, wasn't he the one that was like, "What are you scared of?" And he's like, "I just fucking hate clowns." Or
yes.
So they kind of like tacked on Stanley's thing a little bit, because he like goes and has a memory of Stanley in the synagogue or whatever.
Yeah, to make him stay.
Yeah, and then he has the memory of the arcade place and like gets attacked by Paul Bunyan for some reason. I felt like they were just like having fun there. I was like, what is Richie's trauma thing? I don't know, but
yeah, because like Richie's original trauma was he's afraid of clowns, but that was kind of tacked on because there's only one thing. And he's like, well, what are you afraid of? He's like, clowns. And then it does have a payoff because he enters a room full of clowns. But really, this one, they hint only one time at his fear, and it's the fact that he's gay.
Yeah, I didn't know if that was actually like the fact that he's gay, because he's just playing Street Fighter with some dude, and then the dude's like, I didn't know they like fairies in this town, and it turns out the bully was like his cousin, and they're like, get out of here, and he's like, oh, and he leaves. But I didn't know if he was just like getting called gay as like a fucking bullies being bullies, or if they were actually gay, because I didn't see any gay suggestion beyond that.
No, there wasn't, and I think it's one of those defensive things there that, you know, maybe it's because and again, you don't really get a lot of development there from Richie, but you know, you could tell, like, as you find out later, he had a crush on Eddie as a kid there. Which, I mean, I could believe that with how much he harasses him multiple times there. You know, just kind of like the equivalent of, like, you know, the boys who pick on the girls there just because they think they're cute or whatever. But I really wish they would have played more into that fear, because the only time it pops up, and I do love the scene, is whenever he enters back the park there, and then Pennywise is like, I know your secret, I know your secret. Doing that, he was like shouting that, and it's alluding to the fact that he's gay.
I see it now.
It's literally, you blink, you don't get it for the rest of the film. Because they have that illusion with like him playing with Henry Bauer's cousin at Street Fighter there, and you know, they're super friendly there, but it wasn't like romantically hinted at there.
Yeah,
but it was just like very friendly, so you don't know if it's like a defense measure, like, oh, this dude's gay,
right?
You know, just like push him off there.
It's kind of what I was wondering about, but that makes sense now that you explained it.
Because I mean, they do establish that there's definitely some homophobic individuals in Derry.
Yeah, and they also, the film establishes they're not afraid to show, like, a homosexual romance, because there's two dudes, and they're kissing, and they're talking about, I don't really like beavers, but, you know. And then some people literally just do a hate crime and just, like, murder one of them.
Yeah, which, again, that was also in the book. There, imagine that. And that honestly was honestly one of the more horrifying
yeah, I was
moments.
about to say, that was probably one of the scariest moments in the beginning of the film. I was like, wow. And also they hadn't established all the characters yet, so I was like, which character is this as an adult? I was like, which one of the kids is this? But it wasn't any of them. Like,
yeah, it was just bait for Pennywise, basically, there. Which, I mean, I felt like, honestly, that scene was even better the second time through watching it, just because I was just like, oh my gosh, they're really, like, instilling, like, a level of real life horror.
Yeah, just
here.
like this is a real life danger for people, and
Yeah, so, and I thought it was very well done there, although it is funny seeing Pennywise's introduction there and just holding onto the body and biting it, and then billions of red balloons kind of sucks a little bit of the tension out. Like, I felt like it should have been scarier, but for some reason it wasn't.
Yeah, that was the least scary part of that scene, honestly. Getting kicked the shit out of by a bunch of bullies and then thrown off a bridge was a scarier.
Oh, that was horrifying.
Yeah,
absolutely horrifying there.
But way to kick someone when they're down, Penny. I mean, come on. Can't go eat a kid or something. You gotta eat this dude that's dying in a river. Like, easy prey, Penny. Come on.
I did want to ask you this one opinion, because I want to see what your thoughts were. What did you think about Stanley's arc?
I feel like they just didn't want to develop another character. I just killed this guy. Yeah. No, I got it. It was one of those things, you know, fucking Meatwad from Aqua Teen Hunger Force, where he's like, I get it. I ain't laughing, but I get it. It's like this. It's like, I get what you're doing with the story. Like, it didn't really compel me at all, but I get it. Like,
and this is also in the book there, which you probably could have picked up on, because it seems like a very, as you would say, a literary thing to do.
Yeah, and I don't know. I didn't mind it for the whole film until they had, like, felt the need to explain it at the end, I guess, where he, like, sent out the letters, and he's like, listen, guys, I killed myself because I knew that if I was still alive, then the ritual didn't work, except for nobody that left the town remembers anything about their past, so I don't know why I knew that. But I knew that, and that's the explanation, so you can just wrap a little bow on that at readers at home. And I was like, whatever, man. Like, I get what you're doing, but there's another one of the things that kind of fell flat for me. I was like, I felt like they just didn't want to have to film another 5-minute scene with Stanley embracing his trauma and having another character there. This is already too many characters for a movie. I mean,
yes. I agree. I felt like it should have felt like a bigger payoff. It should have felt more horrifying there.
For them to be like, oh, Jesus Christ, Stanley killed himself. But,
yeah, which I feel like they try, but at the same point, it's like, I don't know. It's like, on paper, sounds like it should be very traumatic, but execution-wise, it was just like, eh.
And also, when they show him in the tub, it shows that he, like, wrote the word "it" on the wall with his blood, which made me be like, okay, so does it have the power to kill people by messing with them outside of the bounds of Derry, too? Because that would be a real wrench in the lore. But, I mean, I think no, but, like, man, how dramatic you gotta be to write "it" on the wall with your own wrist. Just kill yourself, buddy.
Yeah, and
I don't know, little nitpicky things, but I was like, I'd maybe be like, okay, so was the clown responsible for that directly, or just no, indirectly, and he felt like leaving a little message?
Yeah, and also from the book. Yes, as you could probably guess. I felt like it should have been stronger, and I know what they were trying to do. I get it, but it just kind of felt like any emotional pull was kind of non-existent during that. So poor Stanley. Ripperoni. I did kind of like whenever they showed that he's not there. like one of my favorite scenes, surprisingly, in the film is whenever the losers meet up and they're eating at the restaurant. It genuinely feels like friends that are, used to hang out all the time, then got split up, and then they meet back up and they just pick up exactly where they left off there. Like, that's honestly one of my favorite scenes about it. But the image of like Stanley just not being there in the chair, I thought was a good sort of symbolic thing there, showing that it's incomplete there. And I did like the fortune cookie there, just how it spills out. I just don't like the weird creatures that popped out. I didn't feel like it was just scary. I just felt like they just were
weird, yeah.
throwing spaghetti at a wall and seeing what sticks there. I mean, I did like that it resulted in them looking like psychopaths. Mike beating on a table with a chair.
And the waitress comes in and it all just goes away. That feels like... I feel like if Mike was a little bit smarter, he would have just kept like 3 blindfolded strangers around, to follow us a room behind. And then whenever something bad happened, just pull one in and pull off the hood. Oh, it's all gone now. All right. All it takes is a innocent bystander to witness. And then, like, that's been the secret of making it all go away this entire time.
You just need a normal looking
just throw a couple people in some burlap sacks and, like,
break them out anytime tensions start to get rough.
I think shit! There's a spider head of Stanley here. What? I pulled off. Oh, it was just the wind. Okay,
yeah,
let's keep walking.
I felt like the creatures, whenever it came to it, some were horrifying, some were just like dumb.
Some seemed like they were trying real hard. I don't know.
Yeah,
the Stanley spider head thing seemed so. It was like, all right. Feels like they're trying a little hard.
Yeah, especially whenever they had the like little
the legs.
Yeah, the leg popping out of the eyes.
Yeah.
I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
There. But yeah, seeing Stanley stacked in a fridge was terrifying.
Yeah. That part was cool. Like his body
and then
all
rolls the heads
shoved
out
in
and
it.
then pulls the thing.
Yeah.
One thing I guess we could talk more about is Henry Bauer's arc there. I'm guessing you were like me I'm assuming you were like me the first time I watched it and kind of disappointed. You're like, well, I guess Henry's dead now.
Yeah, he kind of came and went quickly whenever you put together all of his actions, which is not much. I don't know. I thought it was interesting that he ended up being like a henchman for Pennywise. Pennywise gives him the power to get out with this dead mangled zombie dude, I guess.
Yeah.
That was his other friend that got burned to death. And then they just like kind of cruise around town with like a zombie driver. It felt like some like Evil Dead shit or something. Just like, I'm a zombie man driving this car around. Like, it just felt kind of goofy. But maybe intentionally so. I don't know. I did like that Eddie Bauer was like crazy, but like in a little bit of a goofy way. It was like it deducted some scary points, but added I guess some interesting points because he's like he says it's time, I'm gonna kill you, Yeah. It's like okay, like I thought that was interesting. I just thought I was a little disappointed that he like stabbed Eddie, ran off. And then went to kill Mike and died, and that was the extent of his reason for being in the movie. Yeah,
he didn't do too much, surprisingly. I don't know. It's so funny seeing like Eddie return back to the bathroom because whenever he's like cleaning himself up, and he gets stabbed in the cheek by Henry, and he's just kind of like just frozen, like, oh my gosh,
right?
They're doing that. I don't know why I liked it so much. It's so goofy and everything, but they're just like standing there, just kind of laughing, and he just gets in a tough. He closes the shower curtain slowly, going, and then just uses the shower curtain as like a way for Henry to approach, so he could stab him in the chest there. I don't know. It's like one of those things that I probably shouldn't like it, but I just thought it was just goofy fun.
I thought that was a good way, and then he like kind of scoots out and tosses an insult at him. He's like, it's been 30 years, cut your fucking mullet or whatever.
Yes, that's
and then he's walking downstairs and he's like, hey, Bauer's in the bathroom, and they're like, what?
Yeah, and so then they just see like Henry in the parking lot. Ben's looking out there. I did like how Ben had a moment of like fear flash up with him again, seeing him, because I feel like people that have been bullied kind of go through that even like decades later, seeing the old bully. Too bad that was only one moment there.
Right, and it all fell flat to me because he never he said that one thing to Eddie, like he says it's your time or whatever, but he never divulges anything like Pennywise is coming or like here's the big secret or like any sort of useful information he doesn't really expose. So it's like, why was he there? Like he was a source of conflict briefly and then didn't kill anybody and then just died. That's why I'm like, either do something with him or cut him out of the film. I don't feel like he really had an impact. He didn't really drive the movie forward in the same way that he did in the first movie.
Yes, I would very much agree with that. I feel like Henry Bowers, which was like one of my favorite parts of the first film, is nowhere near one of my favorites in this one.
Yeah.
But again, I don't feel like it's an fault of the actor, just what he's given, which is not a lot, but I know whenever you're like pushing a 3-hour time there, cuts have got to be made basically.
Oh yeah.
But it just felt kind of anticlimactic there, especially just whenever Richie just ends up throwing a tomahawk at his head.
Yeah. Just like cleaving his skull in.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of those things. It's just a very movie moment where like the very first thing that happens after he tries to stab Mike is Mike pushes him through a table and he just shows a shot of the axe flopping out. So I'm like, okay, he's going to die from that axe. But he tackled Mike. Okay, so something's got to happen where an axe hit. Oh, the axe is in his head now. Okay. It's like, it was like a very like scripted moment, I guess.
Yeah, like I felt like whenever it came to the scenes of Henry Bauer, I felt like they were all shot well. It's just the fact that there's not a whole lot that kind of makes it question why it's there in the first place.
Yeah.
Just due to the payoff, I suppose.
Right.
Just because, again, like I felt like, again, whenever it came to the antagonists in this film, they surprisingly don't have too many antagonizing moments there. Like I said,
Right, yeah.
Pennywise does try to scare them multiple times there, but I don't know, because like you mentioned, we talked about it before, he's not really in his own form there, because like with Eddie, he's like that leper again, which I gotta... The first time I watched the film, there was one thing that I was like, okay, you gotta be kidding me. Is whenever like Eddie's trying to push him back or whatever, which he has that gross thing where he like it hits his eye and the pus pops out there. But whenever he's like pushing him back and he's like, fuck you, and then like he starts vomiting this black ink there, and it has that one 80s song blasting for a moment.
That was
it's such a weird, bizarre moment there that I'm just like, why did you do that?
Right. That's why it feels like an action movie. It feels like I was watching the fucking D&D movie or something. Like, like that was a visual gag instead of like a scary moment. And it didn't really pay off in either way. It wasn't that funny and it wasn't that scary. It was just like, that was a thing that happened.
Yeah. The first time I watched the film, I was like, so dumb.
Yeah.
So dumb instinctively. Second time watching it, I'm just like, yeah, okay. I'm just focusing on the fact that it's a good song. That's it. But you have that, and then you have whenever Ben returns to the school, that it's, I mean, he's half Beverly, half Pennywise, so it was nice to kind of see him be Pennywise there. But again, I don't know, there's something weird, because obviously in the first film, he wasn't Pennywise 24/7. It just felt more horrifying, like it really was him, as opposed to just, crazy shenanigans.
Right. I mean, I thought in like a literary sense, it was cool that he was Beverly for Ben's scene, and then like her hair was on fire because it's like reflects the poem or whatever. And she
stop being right already. Jeez Louise.
She says, but no, I agree. When you translate it to film, it was kind of like, okay, I get it. Again, I'm meat-wad. I'm like, yep, I get it. It's not doing a lot for me, but I get it.
As soon as you said it, I'm like, dang it, you're right.
Like, and it's, I mean, they're all confronting their fears that are like, his fears that Beverly won't love him or whatever, and that's whatever. I get it. It's just not doing a lot for me. The one that did a lot for me was Beverly's trauma scene.
Yes.
That one was both scary, related to her trauma, but not rehashing the first movie's shit where it wasn't actually her dad. She's just in her, in a different place with this woman. The one thing that confused me was like, is she really Pennywise's mom? Like, or is it that just Pennywise being weird? Or like, I don't know about the lore. I don't know. But she was genuinely scary. Even in her not scary moments, and she was that scary goofy in a way that I feel like worked. Because she was like kind of rambling around the movie in like a way that's eerie, and like it was like both goofy and also like I would be laughing if I saw that in real life, but nervously. Like,
yes.
Yeah, like, and it was like, okay, like, I got that, and I felt like that's what they were trying to make Pennywise in a lot of other moments in the movie, but it ended up just being, like, not scary, just kind of goofy, and I am looking at a monster, but it's not scaring me, you know? But her, I was scared by her little, even in the moments where it's getting hot in there, and she's just, like, looking sweaty and disheveled, and she's like, oh, there's cookies, 1 second, and then you see her, like, the lights go off, and then you see her naked body just, run past, and then she's, like, giant. I don't know. The part where she was, like, giant and chasing her wasn't as scary as the rest of it, but I did enjoy all of that trauma scene.
Yeah, I was really surprised during all of that as well that we actually got even more backstory to Pennywise there, like, you know, just being like a circus performer there.
Yeah.
Because you even see him in like the makeup booth there, in a more humanoid looking form.
Right.
There, donning that. So I was like, oh wow, we're actually getting some even more backstory aside from like, yeah, we had these creepy clowns drawn in the background.
Right.
Yeah. Doing something like that. I will say one thing about Eddie's thing. Even though I hated that leper vomiting scene, I honestly felt like the true trauma was starting whenever he was picking up the prescription there. And it's like that doctor, he's like, let me see your face. He's like, I don't think it's cancer, but it might be. And he's like, cancer?
Yeah, I thought the trauma was going to involve that old man somehow, but then they did the little flashback, and they were like, yep, it's his mom in the basement.
God, and oh my gosh, it was so creepy having a leper because he's not able to free his mom from, like, the straps there, that the tongue is, like, going everywhere, including inside her mouth, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah. I feel like
Doing
they just try to be extra gross in some moments of the movie where
yeah,
the fucking tongues and shit.
I was kind of surprised that Bill gave in so willingly to the fear about Georgie being in the drain there. And
he dived right in and put his hand in there. I felt like he would have been one of the smarter ones. But
that's exactly what I thought too, as well. That's why I was kind of like,
Georgie's dead. It's been 27 years from the last movie where you already were old enough to know that Georgie was dead and gone. You know what I mean? It's like, these people have learned these lessons before, and they got to learn them again for some reason.
Yeah, that's definitely true there. Let's see, any other moments to bring up or anything at all?
I don't think so. I guess I'm still confused as to what the little 3 orbs of light are and what that...
Yeah.
I feel like they tried to do a lore dump here, which I felt like was a good decision, but then I also, by the end of it, still don't get the lore. I don't really understand. I know what happened with the first natives that, like, witnessed this thing fall from space, and then it's like been in the earth for millions of years, and they tried to defeat it, and then Mike scratched out the one side of the wall, and nobody seemed super concerned with that. He just scratched out an entire...
Yeah, they literally only had one scene, and it's whenever Richie's looking at it, he sees a scratch thing, and he's like, weird, but I'm not going to bring it up.
Yeah, you should have brought it up, dude. But anyway, not that it mattered that much for the plot of the movie.
Yeah.
It was like, I get what happened then in the past, but I still don't really get what he is. The 3 orbs, like, gave Beverly the power to see people's deaths or something, but, like...
Yeah, it's a Stephen King thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Just a big story. And with it.
I just didn't know if it was supposed to be a big question mark at the end, or if I'm just stupid and I didn't pick it up, or like if they just didn't explain it very well. I don't know which of those 3 it is.
I've seen the film twice. I've heard video essays talking about it. So if that tells you anything, I still can't even tell you what it is.
It's just poorly explained. But,
yeah. It's like people have successfully explained it on YouTube there. So in case you're just dying to know what it is,
right.
They have a big lore dump. I think it's literally 20 minutes long.
But if both of us paying close attention to this movie 3 times between us can't really understand it in full, then that's a movie problem.
Yes, exactly. And I feel like it was one of those losing battles of we could spend forever trying to explain this thing, but we got less than 3 hours to tell this entire story.
Right.
So it's just like, it's magic.
Yeah. It's a thing.
Yeah, so that's definitely kind of one of the more sad moments there. Yeah, there's a lot of moments at time where there's moments, and I'm sure you kind of went through the same thing, whenever it's slow and it's just mostly just people chilling or whatever, that you're just like, yep, movie's still going.
Still happening, huh?
Yeah. Still doing the movie, I see.
Interesting choice.
Yes. I like it. I like your pizzazz, kid. I don't know. I feel like we could just like turn over every little single thing and talk about it, but sure. I just feel like there isn't as many important things I want to bring up and or discuss there.
I've exhausted my list now. Yeah.
I mean, like I said, there's definitely still a lot of enjoyable moments. I think, in all honesty, Bill Hader has so many funny moments that just makes it just enjoyable to watch. He's
just always great to see on screen. I love Bill Hader.
Yeah, me too, buddy. Me too. But I think probably with all that said and done, I'll probably just close the book cover on this film here. A little book pun, you know what I mean?
It's chapter 2.
Yes. Oh man.
It's the longest book with only 2 chapters I've ever been a part of.
Oh, holy cow. Yeah. So how about I tease the next film?
Yeah. Tease
me.
Okay.
All right. So this film is going to be taking place in the mid-2000s here. It is exactly 1 hour shorter than it chapter 2 here.
1 hour 49-minute movie.
Yes, and it is a sequel to a film which one of the characters wore patriotic clothing.
What America-themed movie have we seen? Or is it patriotism for another country?
It was just one character individual there, although they certainly had their own beliefs there. And pretty much, I don't think you'll be able to guess the title because it's not even a 2 or anything afterwards there.
Okay.
But basically, they're pretty much individuals that Satan turned down. That's like, take that title.
Individuals that Satan turned down.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing for the title. Hell's Rejects.
Super close. Super close. Just, what's another word for Satan?
The Devil's Rejects.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, which is a sequel to House of a Thousand Corpses.
Oh, okay.
Yes, Captain Spaulding with the Americana outfit.
Okay.
Yes, I knew there was no way you were going to be able to guess the title alone, not House of a Thousand Corpses 2. So I tried doing that, and then once I was like that, I was like, I hope you can certainly charades this right now. Or know your synonyms.
I can do wordplay.
Yes, heck yeah.
I can't remember which movies had patriotic characters in them.
That's fair. There's only that and American Psycho.
I guess he is America's Psycho.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, thank you all so much for listening to this episode, and we'll see y'all again next time when we're popping the scary with The Devil's Rejects.
Oh yeah.
All right. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube, Castbox, or iTunes platforms to stay up to date when new episodes drop. To see what Aaron and I are up to, check out our respective Twitter accounts. For me, it is @CoalkirkVA, and for Aaron, it is @AnimalGameDev. Thank you all so much for listening to our podcast. We'll speak to you all again next time when we're poppin' the scary.